I wanted to quickly go to you because, a lot of governments like to say that they support small businesses. As we've said multiple times, SMEs are the backbone of our economies, and many politicians like to say that when they're campaigning. But are governments actually good at supporting SMEs, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, of course, you've got a different kind of spectrum of support across different countries. I think in the UK, I think probably there is an element of more support than in other countries that we see across the continent. But from a retail perspective, again, it's really the retail sector for the UK is really important. 2/3 of the economy is consumer spending. A third of that is the retail sector. And actually, I think going back to the pandemic and the impact of the pandemic and some of the measures that the government introduced in the UK and of course across the world were quite frankly, quite astonishing in the speed that they did it. So, in the UK, we had the furlough scheme, we had a business rates holiday. So, business rates essentially a tax on property in the UK. For commercial property in the UK. So, they stepped in, they put a business rates holiday in place. There was emergency loans that were made available to businesses. So actually, it was without these measures that were put in place, given the nature of lockdowns and the impacts that the pandemic had on people's lifestyles in terms of the way they communicated and lived their lives and shopped, of course. It would have been it would have been a huge scar to the economy that was thankfully kind of alleviated by some of these measures. I think there is always more that they can do, though, of course, and a lot of that will come around. I think training and support. There's also some issues around a fairer tax system when it comes to business rates in the UK. Business rates is a really kind of old, archaic system that is no longer fit for purpose in today's digital world. So some kind of more level playing field between bricks and mortar operations and pure online retailers that reflect the contribution they have towards the economy and economic wealth is definitely something that needs to be addressed and needs to be addressed urgently. There's still skills kind of issue within the UK that the government should step in and try to support as well, and that comes from essentially grassroots in terms of making sure that school leavers leave school with appropriate skills that are adequate for today's for today's modern economy. And a lot of those skills are digital, and a lot of those skills have relevance across all aspects of various different industries in the economy. So yes, so in it kind of, I'll go back to Astrid's a bit of yes and a bit of no. So there is support in place, and it has been it's been a lifeline for SMEs over the last couple of years. But absolutely, there's still so much more that the government can do in terms of support. And if I was going to pick one area, then in terms of the UK, it would be around business rates. In some parts of the UK, the tax that retailers pay on their properties is higher than they pay on rents, and it's just it's disproportionate burden on retailers that have a physical presence, and it's not fit for purpose in kind of today's digital world.
That's fascinating. Who would have thunk, hey? Tax. Astrid, though, I wonder what you think in terms of if the government is supporting enough. Because one of the things, well, Richard touched on it already, was that there was a lot of action quite quickly from the government. But what I noticed from where I sit was that there was government mandates, but that actually needed a bit of partnership with the private sector. For example, the bounce back loans here in the UK, they needed a vehicle to get those out. And oftentimes it was the fintech companies coming in and distributing those loans. I also love the idea of a bounce back loan where I think of, someone on a trampoline bouncing back. But I wonder, would you agree with Richard that the government did a decent job, or in general, are they doing a good job at supporting SMEs?
I think they did a decent job, and it's quite a challenge, of course. And that there was a lot of support for, I think, all companies in I can see in the Netherlands. They created some new options for entrepreneurs and specific Corona-related loans. And indeed, they needed yeah, the fintechs and the banks to get these products to the entrepreneurs. So within the Netherlands, you had the small Corona loan. It took quite a long time to get it approved. So where government can learn. So we are talking about digitalization and going online. Like the whole government surrounding is not digital by itself. So they had to step up, and I think they can do a lot more in um, yeah, making agreements or decision making, and also facilitating online delivery of documents for entrepreneurs towards the government. So there is a gap where we are looking into opportunities to support entrepreneurs fully digital. The government is not by itself.